from the datum point, which may or may not be the pivot point.
Oh, that's not the, so.
Yeah, so different airplanes measure a different datum point.
Oh,
so
they just have a very
right.
spot that they have on the plane. It's not necessarily where the center of gravity really is.
Right.
It's just a place for measurements.
Correct. It's
okay.
That's the 0 point for all the measurements.
All right, we're back to do a little math this time. Welcome to the third ground school session. This is episode 2. We are going to talk about weight and balance. We're going to nerd out on a little math. I have my phone, so I have a calculator if I need it. That's all I'm going to use it for. Thanks for watching, folks. It's been fun so far, learning all this stuff. I hope you're learning something along with us. And put a challenge out there for you this time on this video. If you learned something from what we're talking about, leave us a comment. Tell us what you learned. I know Jake would be fun. It would be fun for him to say, hey, those folks are actually learning besides just Philip. So if you learned something, if you have a question, feel free to leave it down there and we will get to the comments and answer it for you. One of us will. Hopefully me. If I can't, Jake will answer it, and we would appreciate that. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can keep seeing these videos. We are trying to do this on the the smallest budget possible to become a pilot. So we do have a little GoFundMe set up. If you could help us out financially, that would be great, just to help us get through some of the extra things like tests and insurance and things like that that will get us over the top to get to the end of this pilot thing. And if there's money left over at the end, we're going to rent a plane and go flying some more and bring you more content. That's the plan.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you watching, and I'm not going to spend any more time saying hello. Let's just get this thing rolling, Jake. Oh, by the way, we do have another camera here. This is because we're going to be doing some calculations on paper, and we will have it sitting right here in front of us, and we will put the camera on it. So hopefully you will be able to see what we're doing. I'm hoping. So we'll see how that works, and hopefully it'll be fun, and you'll learn something. Okay, now let's go.
All right, so Chapter 10 of the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge is going to be weight and balance. So when we fly an airplane, we have to make sure that the airplane is within the maximum weight that's specified for it. We also have to make sure that it balances within the specified range. So when we talked about aerodynamics and how wing works, we talked a little bit about stability and how the stability of an airplane in pitch comes from that opposition of forces, the airplane wanting to pitch down because of the center of gravity being a little bit forward and the tail pushing down to bring the nose back up. That opposition of forces makes the airplane stable. Well, if the center of gravity is too far forward, then we won't have enough elevator authority on the tail to keep that nose up. If the center of gravity is too far aft, then we won't have that opposition of forces, because the tail, if the center of gravity is too far aft, the tail won't have to be creating force downwards. It'll be neutral.
That's when you start porpoising and
right.
lose it. It's
right.
hard to fly.
And from your experiences in the RC world, I'm sure you know exactly what happens when you get an airplane too far out.
Nose heavy plane will fly, tail heavy plane will fly once, is what
right.
we say.
Yeah.
that's our saying.
Yep.
Fly once.
And you're not too far off with that. So in order to make sure that we're within our center of gravity and our weight limitations, we have to do a weight and balance calculation before each flight to make sure that...
you can't do like us, just hold it up on your fingers. That's how we check our CG. We have a mark on the plane, we just stick our finger up. That looks good, let's go flying.
The Chief's a little bit heavy for that.
Yeah, it'd be kind of hard to do.
So when we calculate our weight and center of gravity, we have a little form that we use, and in the Chief Handbook here, it shows in our weight and balance section, it tells us what the standard empty weight of the airplane is. Now, of course, in the case of the particular Chief that we're flying, we would have to use the empty weight that's listed on the weight and balance sheet in the airplane. The gross weight of the airplane, which is the maximum allowable weight, and that's the same for all Chiefs, all
That would be the same on the paperwork in the plane as it is here.
Right. And then the standard useful load. Useful load is simply the gross weight minus the empty weight. So-
Is the empty weight count fuel?
No.
All right, so the total weight that we're flying when there is our two bodies plus fuel.
Right.
So
Has-
all of that can't add up to more than 460 pounds.
in the case of an airplane that has standard weight, yes. Now, obviously, our chief that we're flying may not be exactly that standard weight.
In the ballpark. though.
Right. But we have to use the weight and balance sheet in the airplane to get the standard weight in order to
So by the time we put all the fuel and us in there, we're pretty much right at the edge.
pretty
close to
pretty close to the
close to full.
maximum, because we're carrying about usually 10 to 12 gallons of gas on an average
And
flight.
that's about 72 pounds.
Ish. Yep. So we're
we're close.
right up close to that gross weight, the two of us. And we also have, so those are our weights, and to figure out our balance point, we also need to know where those weights are, because if you look at in the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, they have a nice little diagram here on page 10-6. Figure 10-4 is just sort of a teeter-totter, and in order to get the airplane to balance around that proper center of gravity point, just like a teeter-totter, we have to make sure that the weights balance out. So a couple of terms to talk about. The datum point, or the fulcrum of that teeter-totter, is where all of our distances are calculated from to determine where the weights are on the airplane. So in figure 10-2 here, you see how they show what the CG range might be. It looks a little bit wide for on a real airplane. A real airplane would be a little bit narrower than that, but for illustrative purposes, obviously they have to make it wide enough that you can read it. The arm is how far forward or aft
It's the distance from that pivot point.
from the datum point, which may or may not be the pivot point.
No, that's not so.
Yeah, so different airplanes measure a different datum point.
Oh,
So
they just have a very
Right.
spot that they have on the plane. It's not necessarily where the center of gravity really is.
right,
It's just a place for measurements.
correct. It's
Okay.
that's the 0 point for all the measurements.
Okay.
So in the case of this weight and balance diagram in figure 10-2, it looks like it's right about the instrument panel is where they put the datum point. Different airplanes can have it in different
Do you know where it
places.
is on the Chief?
On the Chief, I believe it's the front of the prop spinner, the very front of the
Whoa,
airplane.
they go way up front.
Yeah, which means on the Chief, I don't think you'll ever find well, actually, no, it's not, because let's see where they do. So, main fuel -6 inches. So, looks like the datum point on the Chief is
Just behind the.
just ahead of the
Behind the
instrument, maybe the front of the wing. I'd have to look at the weight and balance sheet for the Chief to see what the datum point is, but I believe it's right around there, the front of the wing, or
That'd be a good spot.
Yeah, the landing gear or something. So, depending on where the datum is, some airplanes, the datum, I've seen an airplane, I can't remember what kind it was, but the datum point was 72 inches forward of the prop spinner. It's like, why? Okay.
Why can't you just recalculate and call it at the prop bolts or something?
Right.
It just,
Exactly. I don't. But
I think the engineer wanted to play with the pilots.
Yeah, that's how they chose to calculate it. So whatever. But you can see in figure 10-4 here that in order to balance, so if we have in their example a 50-pound weight 100 inches to the right, well, in order to balance that out, we could make things easy and put another 50-pound weight 100 inches to the left. But let's say that the edge of the figure here is as far left as we can go, so we don't have enough space to do that. So in order to balance it, they tried putting a 100-pound weight 25 inches to the left, but that still wasn't enough, so they had to put a 50-pound weight 50 inches to the left. And how we calculate this, it shows in this figure. So the arm, being the distance from the datum, times the weight equals your moment. Okay, so the moment is essentially how much twisting force, or how much torque.
How many pounds, inches?
Yeah.
However the calculation is.
It's applying to the aircraft. So in the case of this 50-pound weight, 100 inches to the right, well, that's 5,000 pound inches to the right. So the 100-pound weight, 25 inches to the left, is 2,500 inch pounds on the left. So that still leaves us with a 2,500 inch pound imbalance. And so they added a 50-pound weight, 50 inches to the left to give you another 25. So now you have 5,000 on the left and 5,000 on the right.
And in theory, they should sit flat.
And you've balanced it. So they have a few more examples here, but for the sake of what we're doing here, let's go look at the Chief manual. So the example problem that we have here, the aircraft in this example weighs 790 pounds.
Okay.
The arm, that is where the airplane balances, is at 14.5. So that's 14.5 inches aft of the datum.
So that would make sense for it to be right at the front of the wing where the datum would be.
Correct.
Somewhere in that vicinity, because that would be right close to the cord, the thickest part, which is usually where the CG is, right?
Right. So, and the moment, if you multiply, and if you can get your calculator out, you'll find
790.
So let's try this. 790 times 14.5.
11,455.
Which indeed is what is listed here for the moment.
Okay.
Okay. So, what we're going to do is we're going to add up all of the weights and all of the moments. Okay? If you divide the moment
total moments by total weight.
By the weight, you get the arm. So that's how we figure out where the center of gravity is. If we look on the next page of the POH, which is the last page here, you can see that the allowable center of gravity range goes from about 12 to about 23 inches.
That's good 11, 12 inches.
Right. So, and you can see it goes from 800 pounds, the allowable weight goes from 800 pounds up to 1,250 pounds, which is the maximum gross weight of the airplane. So, if we, in this example, and here we have arms calculated or arms are given for each other component of the weight, and the moments are already calculated in this example, but for the pilot and passenger in this example, the arm is 23.5, so that's where we're sitting on the seat in the Chief. And in
Does it matter if we move the seat up and back?
It does, and you'll find that...
Because I'm short and we've had to move it up.
Yep, you'll find that the back in... It's in the weight and balance section.
They give you
So the pilot and passenger anywhere between 21.5 to 25.5 as the arm. So 21.5 would be with the seat all the way forward. 25.5 would be with the seat all the way back.
So for our calculations, we're close to all the way forward, so we should probably be using like a 22 and a half, something like that.
But in this case, we're using 23.5 in the example, or
halfway in between.
Yeah, in the example, with a weight of 360 pounds. That's two people at 180 pounds. That's a little bit lighter than the two of us, I think. But
it's pretty close. I'm 170, so
yeah, about 195.
And then we're right smack on it.
Yeah,
we're on it then. See, it was meant to be. We're the perfect weight for the Chief.
So then, if we multiply our weight by the arm, we get a moment of 8460. Baggage in this case shows 10 pounds, which isn't too far off of what all the...
No, there's a little bit of stuff in the back, plus the cameras we're adding.
Log books in the back, and the couple extra headsets back there. And the arm is 48.5, so 10 times 48.5 is 485 pound inches.
Inch pounds.
And then the main fuel tank, in this example we have 90 pounds of fuel.
That's 15 gallons, right?
Yep, which would be a full tank in the main fuel tank. And the arm is -6, so the moment is -540. This has no fuel in the aux tank, but that would be an arm of 61, so that's way in the back.
Yeah, it's behind us. Right
Yep.
there.
And so in this example, 790 pounds empty plus 360 pounds of people plus 10 pounds of baggage plus 90 pounds of fuel is right at our gross weight of 1,250 pounds. If we add up all of these moments, and why don't you go ahead and do this? So 11,455 plus 8,460 plus 485
Yeah.
minus 540, and let's see what that gives us,
Oops. I was waiting for another number. 19,860.
which is what we have here. If you divide that by 1,250,
15.88.
15.88, which is, if we look at our envelope here for the center of gravity, is pretty much right in the middle. Forward and aft, we're right up at the top because we're at gross weight.
So in theory, if we use that back tank with 8 gallons in it, we would be overweight
yes,
because of us.
yep, and that's why the last time we flew, I made sure it was empty.
Right, you pulled a gallon or two out of there, didn't
Yep,
you?
I did, and I pulled a gallon or two out of the back, and I put it in the main tank.
Crap, I remember seeing you do that. That's just we're pushing that plane right at the limits, aren't we?
Yeah, now, and of course, that later iterations of that design came up to gross weights, 1,700 pounds. So,
Yeah, I think the plane's a little over-engineered.
yeah,
So in theory, if I ever get to the point of doing a cross-country flight in there, I could
Mhm.
throw fuel in the back because I will be alone,
correct.
and then
But you'll still have to just make sure that you're not out of the
right. I
aft-
would still have to fall within this graph here.
right. So
But
you'll-
I would be able to put that 480, not 480, 8 times 60. Yeah, that's 480. No, it's not. Eight
Four-
pounds
40
times 6, 48. I would be able to
48.
put that 48 to 50 pounds in the back.
Yes,
And it wouldn't throw us off. We'd have to recalculate and figure it out.
correct.
But I would be able to carry that extra weight
Right.
because I don't have a passenger.
correct. And then you'll notice on this page also it gives you a blank weight and balance form that you can use to calculate. Now we're going to use it. We're going to just use a pad of paper here to do that. So let's.
So would it be a good idea, is it something that would be smart idea to maybe copy this and laminate it and have like a pencil that you can write on it for each flight to make sure, like if you're taking somebody with you,
Yeah, might
or
not-
if you're going to take some baggage, just so you don't use the one in here.
Sure, we could do that. Or you can just scribble on a piece
Yeah.
of note paper like this.
Now,
like
once
we're-
we've done it a few times,
like
we
we're
know the
gonna
numbers,
do.
right?
Aircraft, start with the first line here. Aircraft, weight is 790 pounds. The arm that we had for the standard aircraft was 14.5, which gives us a moment, should give us a moment of 11,455. You can check my work if you want.
Nope, we did that on the one before.
Yep.
So.
Pilot and passenger, we said we were about 360 together.
Yep.
Times 22, I believe we used.
Yep, we were going to do 22 because we put the seat up.
Yep.
So that's 79.20.
79.20. Baggage, I think we said 5 pounds just for that logbook clipboard in the back.
Yep, times 48.5 is 242.5.
242.5. Main fuel, I think we said 12 gallons times
Okay,
6
so
pounds a
12
gallon.
pounds times 6, we should know that. 6
72.
72.
72 pounds is at -6 for the
Times minus 6.
negative
Minus
432.
432.
And then the aux fuel 0.
Zero.
61 is the arm, but moment is also 0. So the total, let's add this up. So 790 for the airplane
Plus 360.
for us, plus 5 pounds of bag, the logbook in the back.
72.
Pounds of fuel, 1,227 pounds is with the airplane. So this is good news. So We've done weight and balances when we've been down at Brooklyn when we've been flying. We haven't showed that because we haven't showed the pre-flight yet. At some point we'll get to show the pre-flight on video. But 1,227 pounds confirms once again that we are below the maximum.
By 23 pounds?
That's what I see. And now we just need to add up our moment. So 11,455
plus 7920
plus 242.5 minus 432, 19,185.5.
Divided by our 1227, correct?
Yep.
15.63. 64. Whatever.
So 15.63. So then we can go to our chart
So
here.
Our weight would be right there.
Yep.
And 15.6 would be somewhere in there.
Yep. So that shows us.
So we're right in line. Now, question.
Yeah.
How much do these cameras affect it? Because we're carrying probably another 4 to 5 pounds of cameras.
Mm-hmm.
2 on the windshield, 1 over our head, 1 out on the wing.
Yeah. So let's see. So the one out on the wing should be pretty much right on the center of gravity.
Yeah, that one's probably those we don't have to worry about. We just have to worry about
that camera out on the wing with that little tiny mount you've got probably just weighs 1 pound.
Maybe a little over a pound because it's all metal.
Yeah.
So it would affect that a little
over
bit.
a pound. Then we have the one that's mounted behind us over the baggage compartment. That would be at an arm of 48.5.
That's probably 40. That's probably about a pound.
Pound and a half, maybe.
Pound and a half. So 1.5 times 48.5 is 72.75.
Yep.
And then the 2 on the windshield, which would be right on the datum line pretty much.
A little bit forward of it, maybe -2, -3.
So we've got basically another 73.
And then the 2 cameras.
2 pounds.
Yeah, 2 pounds
times. I mean, we're talking small numbers here.
-2 maybe.
-2.
Times negative, not 0.22 times -2 is -4.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So that'd be -4. So base
4.
69. Add to our.
-69 plus 73 is.
Well, I was thinking 73 minus 4 is 69.
Yeah, 69.
So that would be we would add 69 more to our moment. So it'd be
And
19,185 just plus 69.
Yep. And then divide that by 1,232.
Yeah, because we had to.
Yeah.
So we're sitting at 15.62,
which is
still okay.
Still going to be well within our range, and we're still only at.
We're only added like 5 pounds.
Yeah, 1,232, which is still below our 1,250
so
pound. Right.
Negligible, but if we were on the edge, it could throw us off a little bit.
It could, but.
Which heck, one farther forward.
If we throw our coats in the back, that probably throws it off more than
That's why I leave my flight kit in the car.
Right. So that pretty much shows how to do a weight and balance calculation. For a Cessna or a Piper that is a 4-seat airplane, has seats in the back, you'll just have one more line here. We have pilot and passenger line here. You'd have rear passengers as a line, as an extra line in the calculation for a Cessna or a Piper. But other than that, that's pretty much how you do a weight and balance calculation for a small training aircraft.
Very interesting. I always wondered how the arm was measured because I wasn't completely sure. I'm one of those people, okay, I know it's a datum point. Tell me where my datum point is, then it will make sense.
Your datum point is wherever the designer chose to put
right,
it.
and we think on the Chief that's the leading edge of the wing, which would be a logical place to put it based on that -6 for the fuel tank.
Right. Yeah.
So it's either the leading edge of the wing is over the cockpit, so it's in front of where we sit.
Yeah.
So that would I would bet you money that that's where it's at.
And we can confirm that the weight and balance sheet in the airplane
will actually show us
tells us exactly where that is.
Okay. I understand this whole you got to balance everything out. And it's got to be within the range. I get all of that. I just was some of the terms and where they came from.
Yep.
That I wasn't sure of, and so that really helped make that more
Yeah.
clear or less.
I mean,
buggy.
this is the level of math that we're dealing with as pilots here. I mean, you see, it's not. I mean, this is like grade school.
No,
kind of math.
I've seen some math formulas and
Right.
some of this stuff that makes my brain hurt.
Yeah.
This is your simple fourth grade.
Yeah.
Multiply, divide. If you can multiply and divide, you can do this.
Pretty much.
Calculator helps because you're getting in some big numbers, but
Yeah.
it's nothing you couldn't do on paper if you know
Ex-
your multiplication tables. So-
Exactly.
So,
So that pretty much concludes weight and balance. They do show here on page 10-8, figure 10-8. This is how Cessna does it. So they pre-multiply the weight times the arm for you and just give you the moment on this graph. And then rather than charting like the one for the Chief here shows arm in inches on the bottom and weight in pounds on the vertical axis. Well, the Cessna one shows moment in inch pounds along the bottom and weight along the vertical axis.
just got to read what your X and Y means.
Right. It's so the only difference.
Calculation is still the same.
The calculation is still the same. It's just that they've already done one step for you, and that just changes the shape of the graph slightly.
Right, and as long as you fall inside that box when you do your,
Exactly.
it all works.
Exactly. Some airplanes use these huge long tables like this.
It seems like a lot of work, but then it's probably a lot bigger plane.
Yeah, I think some of the Pipers do it this way. To me, it's easier to just multiply it out myself.
Okay. All right, is that all?
That'll do it.
All right, well, thanks for watching, folks. I hope you learned something. If you did, leave it in the comments down there. Tell us what you learned. Did you learn what the datum was? Because at least I understand that now. So that was a good thing for me to learn. And we'll be doing some of these calculations when we're out there at the field flying the Chief. So make sure you subscribe down there. Click on the bell down there and subscribe to our channel, and you'll see more of these. Remember, if I have cut any of this particular video out, which this one was short enough, we probably won't be cutting any of this one. You can always find the full-length videos on Jake's channel, which is Jake CFI. Flying Fiddler CFI. There will be a link to it down in the description. And you can watch all of the full-length ground school videos there, so you can get all the information, because I may occasionally cut a little bit out because I try and make it a little entertaining. So, all right, so that is all for today. Make sure you like and comment, and we will see you next time for Aircraft Performance.